Hello besties, how are you? I hope you're well. I'm well myself, and I welcome you back to today's video. We're making chapatis today, and I thought I'd share the recipe with you. If you're looking for motivation to make some chapatis, seeing as it's the weekend, join me and we do this together. So I'm going to make maharagwe or beans, and I'm going to boil them for 30 minutes in the instant pot. That way they cook very fast, and by the time I'm done making chapatis, the beans will be ready to cook. So it's funny, but nowadays I don't cook to store. I don't cook cereals to store. I cook when I need them because of this instant cooker. Of course, it helps. So to make my chapatis, I'm going to use my mixer, and I'm using this dough beater or dough maker. It's just one of a kind. If you use any other attachment with the mixer, none else works. So I'm using 6 cups of flour, 4 whole wheat, 2 white or all-purpose, a quarter cup of oil, 1 tablespoon salt, 1 tablespoon sugar. That's the ratio I like. You can adjust to what you like. So I started with 2 cups of water and I added a half. So it depends on how your flour is feeling. Sometimes you need more water, sometimes less. But 2.5 cups was the best consistency I got. So I needed this, and how you know it's ready is just the same way when you're kneading with your hands. You want to see that the bowl is clean, completely clean, and the dough is gathered together and looking soft. After this, I'm going to transfer it to my bench, and I'm not going to knead further. I'm just going to gather it together and cover for about 15 minutes. I come back when I'm showered and ready to do this and ready to roll out the chapatis. So I'm going to just make it very simple. With that amount of flour, I'm aiming for about 10 chapatis. It ended up being 12 with the size I was going for. So I make chapatis very simply. I worked hard to learn chapatis. I practiced for many years. At the end, I decided this is the easiest way. This is the easiest method. I don't have to do so much to produce chapatis. I always get a very good consistency, very soft chapatis, just the way I like them, and the flavor is also good. So I roll out the dough, I add oil, I sprinkle some flour on it, and then I divide to the size I want. So I got 12 out of this. So 12 is a fair number. And yeah, so I'm not going for very big chapatis. If you do go for bigger ones, maybe 10 are good to get out of the dough I made, out of 6 cups of flour. So perhaps when you're making white, you would need less water, about 2 cups, 2.25 cups. Whole wheat does tend to take more water. Yeah, but 6 cups, quarter cup of oil, and now the amount of flavor you want. So the thing is, when I'm not making a lot of chapatis, because these are just 12, I save myself the time to go back and forth between the counter and the stove. So I will roll all of them out so that once I move to the stove, all I will do is cook the chapatis while preparing perhaps onions and the other things I need for my stew. So this saves me a bit of time. So I'll have them all rolled out. They won't stick together or anything because they're not many. It will take a very short time to cook these chapatis. And so this is a call or a reminder that chapatis are not so hard to make. They're not the hardest thing. It's just that when you start with too many, it gets boring, you know, but then at least you get the advantage of having so many to freeze. This I don't expect to freeze. They should be over by Monday at least. The family doesn't eat chapatis as much as we used to. It's been a year since the last time I made chapatis, and they were so happy to wake up to chapatis today. But you know what? They've only had one. The guys who did it had one each. For me, I couldn't even finish the one that I attempted to eat, but they were nice and delicious. Anyway, so I would say the secrets to a good chapati is the kneading. You have to knead until the bowl you're using is clear. So then I'm using these pans. These are just regular non-stick pans, and I let them get very hot before I added my chapati. This is because you don't want the chapati to stick on the pan. If it's warming together with the chapati, the dough might stick on the chapatis, and it will also be a bit hard. So you want the pan really hot, and then once you put on your chapati, it will start to aerate. The other thing is that you never add oil until your chapati is properly aerated. Now, aeration of chapati is this thing that's happening right here. You see that when the heat comes onto the dough, it rises. Yeah, that means the layers that had oil in them are separating, and you can see the air just puffing up the chapati or the dough. So this is what is happening. And then for me, I can't turn the chapati before I add oil. Most people just will cook both sides dry before they add oil. Some people will cook all the chapatis they have dry, and then they add oil. Now they do the full cooking process. For me, I find this easier and faster. I let the dough aerate with the heat. Once it puffs up like that, I add oil and flip it to the second side. That way I'm able to press it onto the pan so it gets a nice brown color before I turn it onto the other side. And before I turn, I of course add a little oil. Sometimes if you're making a lot of chapatis, you find that your pan gets very dirty. It's okay to stop and wipe. It didn't get dirty because I was making basically 6 and 6 on each pan. It didn't take much time. Neither did it make my chapati dirty. Another tip I would add is that if you've added too much oil onto one chapati and the chapati did not use up all the oil that you added, it is good to get rid of that oil before you add the next chapati. Like on my second chapatis, there was oil on the pan, so I let it just slide to the sides because these pans are a bit lifted at the center. So I let the oil go to the side. I don't know if you noticed that. And I still insist you have to make the chapati dry before adding any oil to it. If you add chapati when there's oil on the pan, it tends to cook. It tends to gain color before it aerates, and that makes for a dense chapati. You do not want that. So the chapati cooking process is over. Wasn't that fast? So I'm using my pan. I always love to cook stews in this open pan. That way they boil very fast. So what I'm making is some sort of a bean curry. So my kidney beans are ready. They've boiled so nice and soft. I'm going to fry my onion. I usually use a red onion, but today I had only the white. So I fry it until it changes color, and then I add my garlic coriander cube. I usually just blend garlic and coriander and store in the freezer in ice cube containers. Then I'm going to add curry powder and paprika. Those are my usual spices for a curry, but I also add just a little pinch of turmeric because turmeric makes for a richer curry flavor. The smell is just amazing. And then to cook out the spices, you have to add a bit of a liquid. Like I added some tomato liquid, some water that I had just rinsed my tomato can in. And this is just to give the spices more time to cook. And then I added like 1 cup of crushed tomatoes and let them cook. Then I added some water. I wanted this water to come to a rolling boil before I added my beans. I want these beans to thoroughly boil in the sauce, in the tomato sauce. After boiling for a while, of course, the sauce reduces and it remains like this, almost like a gravy sort of mix. Some people prefer to eat it like this, but for me, I'm going to further flavor this with coconut milk. I know this is not the usual way of making coconut beans, but I just like to finish it like this. We are city people. We love we love our beans with rojo. Like we love the sauce to contain tomatoes. The usual way to make coconut beans would be just onion and the coconut milk and then cream. But I'm adding coconut milk, and then I will let this come to a boil again, and we'll have a nice rich coconut flavor. And once they're done, I will serve with my chapati, with my warm chapatis. I've just put them on the table, and they're going to just sit there for whenever someone wants to eat with tea or as a snack, just something. Whoever has missed chapatis, they'll just be there for them to have. So I'm going to finish this by adding, just sprinkling some coriander, just to make it nice and colorful, and also promote some aroma as I turn off the stove. So this will be a very inviting smell. So the guys really enjoyed this meal, and I hope you loved watching it. See you on the next one. I hope you like and subscribe, and I hope you watch the other videos, especially the spiritual aspect of coming abroad, and we'll talk some more. All right, see you on the next one. Bye bye.
Let's just like a mix. It's